you guys are ready to go. Wanted to start, I know it came out Wednesday, so it's been out there for a few days, but when your team and your police officers, your firefighters are recognized for being one of the safest cities in the country, I don't like to miss an opportunity to manage up and thank them. Excuse me, manage up and thank them for everything that they do. And as you may have seen, of course, Pensacola was rated by U.S. News and World Report as the 4th safest city, also the 30th best place to retire and the 31st best place to live. So that's an honor, and that's certainly something that I think anybody thinking of moving anywhere or wanting to see the pluses and minuses of a future community for them or a place that they visit, these are the types of things they look up. And I think being recognized as one of the safest cities in the country is one of the biggest honors you can have. And a huge thank you to our fire department and Chief Jesters here, of course Chief Craner and Chief Randall in the police department. In just a few, it's a good time to give just a few updates of things happening in all those. We're well over $2 million in investments in public safety since I've been in office. Some of those things we've talked about. The PPD North Substation at PSC should be any day now, getting the technology set up there. Of course, adding 2 more officers to have a total of 4 in our CRA downtown. We've been thrilled with the progress so far with our mental health caseworkers, our co-responder model with the Pensacola Police Department in terms of how many interactions that we're seeing and helping people looking for opportunity to get off the street. Very pleased with that so far. You may remember way back when I started, part of Carry Forward was funding the first Bearcat tactical vehicle for SWAT. That is still happening. I think the last update you got was the military said we had to wait in line, which I understand. And the last update, I believe, was that it should be here this summer. So I can get something exact, but we should expect that in the next month or two. Of course, technology upgrades and ShotSpotter, as you remember. And then also just the fire department continues, as they have been, to be one of the top 1% fire departments in the United States. The protection classification of ISO 1, as we've talked about many times, not only is great for your safety, but secondarily is great for the reputation of and the cost of your homeowner's insurance, so that you live in an area that has such a good fire department. And also, just as note, you guys have reported we're over 600 alarms, smoke alarms out in the community in the last probably less than year. So just a lot of amazing things going on, and again, I didn't want an opportunity to pass this by to talk about all the amazing things that our safety folks are doing just because it came out on a Wednesday. I wanted to make sure that we answered those questions, and Chief Jester and Chief Randall are here for any other questions that you guys may have. Update on downtown enforcement. Our officers worked Friday and Saturday for the noise ordinance, 20 total citations for this Friday and Saturday, including 1 arrest with a driving with a suspended license. 9 exhaust violations was the largest number of those 20, but that gives you an update of what happened this weekend. The airport, following up from Memorial Day weekend, obviously extremely busy. 28,583 passengers were screened. That's not incoming passengers. That's just 28,583 that were catching a flight in Plainments during Memorial Day holiday. That's Thursday through Monday, so 28,583. So you can surmise it's about 50-50, so you can surmise about a total of 57,000 passengers for the week. 16% jump from the same time period last week. And if you were near the airport, you saw the overflow lot had some vehicles parked in there, the lot that we're talking about getting paved as soon as we can before the holidays. I believe, according to TSA, the longest wait we had was at one point was 32 minutes, which is not ideal. There were some staffing issues and some overbooked flights, but I would say all in all for Memorial Day weekend. And as you guys know, we enter every summer week, every weekend, every Memorial Day weekend bracing for the busiest weekend we've ever had. So, we're doing everything we can to manage that. And again, we continue to be appreciative of TSA support to make sure that we have the most seamless experience for our visitors and our citizens as possible. For a recycling update, Adams Sanitation has been selected for negotiation for an opt-in curbside option to be revitalized. So we're very much looking forward to sitting down with them after the RFP process and to work out details, what that may look like. Obviously, those proposals are public record. It's something you guys can look at, but the only thing I would be cautious of is their proposal may not be exactly what we end up deciding to do. It might be, for example, it might have a price in there for weekly. Well, we may not do weekly. Maybe we do twice a month, as an example. So we haven't worked any of that out yet. I've not had any conversation with them. So I wouldn't just take that proposal and surmise that that's exactly what we're going to do, because not only do we need to look at and partner with Adams, but we also have to look at what we want to do. Do we want to look at hybrid options of 1 time a week garbage and 1 recycling, and that be a cost, or do we keep everybody at twice a week and then add opt-in as an option for weekly or twice monthly? Those are all things that we've got to run on our side before we jump and just take a proposal that was sent to us during an RFP and assume that we're going to do it. But what I can safely say is I'm encouraged by the proposal. I'm very excited to get a recycling 2.0, and that means recycling that means something. Recycling that when it goes in that can, it's having a positive impact on our environment. That's what we want. So you can be rest assured that whatever version the opt-in will be, one thing you can surmise is that it will be a much more limited scope of what you can put in that can. It will be more than likely very similar to what we're doing at the drop-off right now. Maybe 4 items, 4 to 5 items at the most. And we're going to look at what the markets bear to make sure that when Adams picks it up, it's actually going to save the environment, not back in the landfill like we were doing before. So any version of this, any modification of this is going to be a much narrowed scope of items, recyclable items that we'll want to be picking up. And unfortunately, it's the type of thing that we know that opt-in for a fee is necessary. We've talked many times with you guys. Y'all have asked many questions about. Unfortunately, that is the ability to enforce or to encourage or advocate people to actually do it right, is that one costs more than another. So we think the combination of making it simpler to understand, as well as the folks that are wanting to recycle or the people that are opting in to do so at a fee, means that those are people who are motivated to get it right. So I'm looking forward to whatever this new version would be, and just bear with us as we continue those negotiations and meet internally. We don't have a set time or deadline on we must have it by X, but what the steps will be is we will work out internally and externally with Adams what the new 2.0 of recycling will look like, and at that point we will have at least 90 days and maybe more of onboarding, right? We need people to call in, to opt in, to sign up. We want to make sure everybody understands it. We want to get, before we put recycling cans back out, we want to put stickers with the correct information of what can be recycled. So you can imagine there's a lot of work to do even once we set that date. So my goal would be get it worked out internally and alongside Adams, then give a date to the public, whatever that is, December 1st, January 1st, whatever that date is, and then we would build up an onboarding to that. So our folks should know, our citizens, I would say, at some point this summer, they will know what the start date of any potential option would be. So that's how we'll work that timeline. And again, happy to take your questions after on any of that. So our CRA workshops, they kick off tonight. And of course, these CRA workshops is how we gather information of what these neighborhoods want us to do with those redevelopment dollars. So they are vital. We have tried to be as proactive as possible to get this information out. And any way you guys can do that, would certainly appreciate. The public meetings are tonight, 6 to 7:30 at Sanders Beach, Corinne Jones Resource Center. That's for the West Side CRA. And then tomorrow is the downtown, the Urban Core CRA District. And they've got 2 sessions at Sanger Theater, one from 11:30 to 1 and a second from 6 to 7:30. And then Thursday is the East Side CRA District, and that will be held at the Spring Street Library from 6:30 to 8. And there's more information on the CRA's website. So any way that you can get the word out. And that is your opportunity. When you come to council meetings, when you come to town halls and say, why don't we do this, why don't we do that, these are exactly That is the answer to that. This is us asking our citizens to help us understand what they want to see out of their community. So would love to get any information out on that we can. We will be doing the groundbreaking for Project Titan Element 2 Tuesday, June 4th at the airport. And obviously, an $80+ million hangar number 3. We're very much looking forward to getting that done. That's, of course, on the west side of that runway now, on the Tippin Avenue side. And so we will do that groundbreaking, I believe, at 9 a.m. I'm not sure. I think it's 9 a.m. will be the time. So we'll get that information out to you. And we'll probably hold a press conference there or right after there to take any other unrelated questions that you have, since it's on a Tuesday morning. But more information to come for you guys. Make sure you're there. The mayor's cleanup this past Saturday, 108 tons, 111 tires, 4,200 gallons of paint picked up this Saturday, so another busy one. Summer camps, I know obviously school's out. Summer camps are beginning today, and Parks and Rec has been super busy. Obviously, they know what they're doing. They're up to the challenge and trying to encourage opportunity for kids in our city. So Parks and Rec page at the City of Pensacola website, make sure you check that out if you're interested in any of those summer camps. And 2 other things: Grand Fiesta Parade Friday night. We'll begin closing Spring Street at 4 p.m. on Friday afternoon, and then all remaining streets along the parade route at 5 p.m. So just be patient. As we're used to parades around here. I know this isn't the first one, but just be patient with traffic and our officers out there trying to keep everybody safe. Last thing, obviously, it's been reported about Assistant City Attorney Heather Lindsay resigning. Obviously, we wish her the best in any of her endeavors moving forward. As always, we're not going to comment on specifics on personnel decisions, the whys behind that. I'm sure you guys will receive, or as part of public record, her resignation letter. And I think that in a resignation, she should have that opportunity. So we wish her nothing but the best, and we'll continue to move forward and having a great city attorney's office. So with that, I'll take any questions you got. Yeah.
On the summer camps,
Uh-huh.
can you elaborate a little bit on kind of the benefits of them, specifically whether it's financially for families who may not be able to afford daycares,
Yeah.
or even, for teenagers keeping them kind of out of trouble?
Yeah, I think it's all of the above. The value of summer camps for us is, one, to create opportunities that kids in this community may not otherwise have, whether it be outdoors or whatever the topic or theme of the camp is. But it is intended to be extremely affordable, and in some cases free, depending on what if it's part of the Children's Trust after school stuff. This is something that as a city we want to provide opportunity for kids who wouldn't otherwise have it. The prices and the costs of our camps don't even come close to meeting our operational costs. Obviously, this is an effort to provide within our city, and I think that's the primary goal. Is we want to enrich children's lives here, and it's one of those aspects that we don't run the school district. We aren't with these kids necessarily during the school day, and it's limited what the city government can do. But this is something where we should step up and do that. And I'm really proud of the history we have of doing that, and how many kids that we get involved, and we certainly want as many as possible. So I think it's a great thing across the board for us. It's why you have community centers. It is to be able to do these types of things, and I think we put a good product out there, and I think the kids really enjoy it.
On the recycling, I know you're negotiating this, but can you speak to like the level of subsidy the city's going to maybe look at providing, as far as to what the target price is for customers?
Yeah, not yet. It's just too early. I've got to sit down with our sanitation, finance folks, and I'd be speculating as what the delta would be. I could take a guess, but I don't want to do that at this point. We'll look at it. Obviously, if we can get it as net neutral as possible, there were some theories out there that this was some money-making venture. What any mayor in the country will tell you is there is no money to be made in recycling. I guarantee it. So there will be a subsidy in some fashion, whether that's Obviously we would need the opt-in people to help offset some of that, and how that looks. I just don't know yet because I don't know exactly what product we're moving forward. So for example, if we were to do it every week, if it's $8, $9, $10 a month versus twice a month is $4 or $5 a month, well, that just changes things. And the twice a month option, as an example, certainly if that meant that folks that opted in wanted 2 recycling cans so they could cover up 2 weeks, if they were very avid recyclers and were on top of it, that's something we could entertain with no additional cost. So I can't answer that specifically. I can answer it philosophically in that our goal is to get the taxpayer and the citizen, into a 2.0 of opt-in recycling for as little subsidy as possible, obviously, in addition to what, passing whatever cost on. So just too early to say, though, exactly. Is it $6? Is it $7? Is it $4? I don't know yet. We'll have to sit down with them.
And just a process question, I guess,
Yeah.
on this is, when a final contract is negotiated, will that have to come to city council for a vote or?
I would assume so, because there'd be a change in the budget, right? I mean, obviously, or what we charge, one way or the other, right? I would assume that would require us to do it, because what would be in the current active budget right now would be a rate that includes recycling if we were to be doing 2 different rates. So on that alone, I can assume that that's going to be coming back to council, in addition to potentially contractually. I'd have to, look into that part, but I would assume so, yeah.
What's the deciding factor in picking Adams?
Well, you'd have to. I've spoken to the selection committee directly. We had a selection committee. If I were to speculate, I would say cost was a big factor in it, and a couple of the other things that I read that I thought were really good in it was that they've set some money aside for front end marketing and promotion to get people, and also ongoing. That there be a certain percentage. They proposed a certain percentage of revenues to be going back in to continue to feed the education aspect of getting people to either sign up or make sure that they're doing it correctly. So, I mean, to me, that symbolizes you're in it for the long game. It would have been easy to not include any of that and just say, here's our rock bottom price. So that's my opinion, not the selection committees. I wasn't part of it. But I would assume the cost difference proposed would be the primary factor.
That's what got you interested in it.
Right. Yeah. Right. Exactly. But there was a decent cost difference between the 2 proposals. So I would say that to be fair, I would imagine that weighed heavily.
With the Mountain Young's, previous Mountain Young's,
Uh-huh.
I know you've gotten the green light to kind of go to the next steps. Can you talk a little bit more about what are the next steps, the players involved, and what we can expect in the next months, years?
Yeah. In terms of the action that was just taken, nothing's really changing from before and after, because that was just the formality of regardless of what we decide to do, if we want to use it for housing or a NASA space station, we would have to dispose of it regardless in this exact same form. So we were already, it didn't stop us, obviously, unless the council had voted to not dispose of it. It didn't stop us in the process that we're moving forward. We're interested in a community land trust. We're interested in this being housing affordable for life. Lots of misnomers, including during the council meeting, and I get it, we're closer to it. We live and breathe it every day, but there is very much formulaic numbers on how you assess who qualifies for the house and who doesn't. And what I keep going back to is I can bring you the last 6 surveys, quality of life survey, resident satisfaction survey, over the last 2 or 3 years, and we all agree. No, I cannot find one human being that's come and said we've got too much housing here. No one has said that to me since I've been in this job. Yet when there's opportunity now in front of us, should it be this or should it be that? I mean, we got to face the music. We have to make decisions that not everyone has to agree on, but we all agree that housing's an issue. We all agree that public safety is an issue. We all do. I've never gotten an email or phone call that says, please stop building. There's too many affordable houses here. Please stop building them. Now, when it comes to people's backyards or certain areas that they don't want it, well, I might get that email. But as a whole, we all agree. So here it is in action. We're trying to make something happen and trying to make it happen at scale. We will not do this one house at a time. So we'll continue to push forward with this. It's unprecedented in the city. There is no project in the city limits right now that would have 99 years or more of affordability, not one. So I'm very proud of the council being supportive of this, and they're willing to take this on just the same way we are, that in the face and the headwinds of questions or should we have another gym or all of those things. So I appreciate their support in that, and I feel with conviction that this is the right thing to do. So we'll go down the community land trust model, see how that looks, and I'm sure we'll be back with CRA or council, depending on what's pertinent, and in terms of what that product will look like. If you remember, maybe several months back, we kind of gave as a discussion item, a 14-unit option and a 20-unit option. It will probably be, to your question, kind of a rekindling of some of that conversation now that we are where we are. But I'm very much looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to being part of the the longest running affordable housing project in the history of the city.
Is it still like we're just looking at those options of what can be fit into that site?
Yeah, well, it's that. There's a lot of factors. I mean, there's that. There's the cost of building, and we're going to be very intentional about respecting the architecture and quality of the neighborhood. This is not going to be who can do it cheapest. That's not that. Our subsidy, which will end up being this dirt in some fashion, is going to require more than just what's the maximum number of houses you can build for the cheapest amount of money. And no one said that to us. I'm just saying we've got to balance quality and quantity, right? If it was just about putting as many units, yeah, we could probably put 40 units. Doesn't fit. It's over towering the neighboring houses. We should and will respect all of those things. And I think anybody who's going to be involved in this project, whether it's contractor, the land trust, the city, we know we have a lot of eyes on this project, as we've well seen so far, and deservingly so. When you do something that's never been done before, people lack trust. Change causes anxiety. We get all of those things, and so I know we'll look back in the end and be like, man, it was hard that first time, and when we can prove concept, people can really believe and see what we're doing, that they'll be excited, and we'll continue to have more momentum. Yeah.
Mayor, when you talk to developers, they continue to say that the urban design overlay is a hindrance to creating new commercial space within that overlay area. Mm-hmm. In the News Journal reported when you talked to Just here recently, mm-hmm. about the land development code revision, you expected a quote political battle. Mm-hmm. Do you think that all of this is related in terms of the appetite for both developers and the neighborhoods to move forward here?
Yeah.
What fight are you expecting?
I think that any city you go to, I mentioned to you guys before, every mayor, every city is now talking about trying to help solve a housing issue by looking at zoning, your existing zoning, right? Your existing land development code, which we are. That's something we did right away. And as you see, we're a year plus into this process of that audit, and we're getting to the end of that. And then next would be big public conversation around implementation, right? So an audit is one thing. It's kind of saying, hey, we're experts. We've talked to everyone in your community. Here's something that doesn't make sense in your code anymore. Here's something that's great. So that's the audit phase that we're coming to the end of. And then phase two, where I expect there to be a political fight. I don't know yet over what, but I expect a political fight will be when it comes to implementation. And it's going to be the natural tug and pull of, look, developers want to build units as efficiently as possible. Doesn't mean they're not community minded, but they want to do it as efficiently as possible. And all of us don't like change when it happens right next to us, right? So two very understandable polar opposites. So to the first part of your question, the urban design overlay is a hindrance. Well, in some ways it's designed to be a hindrance, which means you can't just go build whatever you want with no respect to quality, with no respect. Now, could we tweak that? I think we should always be coachable and look inwards and say, hey, this is something that was new for us. Are there, do we need this percentage of glazing on a corner, versus something that might be more realistic, those concerns about it being a hindrance might be fair. And so fortunately, we're looking at all of this and making sure that it makes sense. But we haven't overhauled our land development code in 16 years, as I remind you guys, when we had one restaurant downtown. So we have changed so dramatically in commercial and residential. How many people want to move here? We're seeing it. We're seeing the kind of the downward pressure inside the city limits and lots of building quickly, especially in the last 3-4 years, or 3-4 years ago. So it's going to be a tug and pull on what's good to make sure that we are investable. We can't be too much of a hindrance, but we also have to protect the character and quality of our neighborhood. So it's our job, it's planning's job, development services job to find that happy medium, to talk to everybody out there. So when we get to that phase 2, we're going to have some complex and difficult conversations probably over some of these things. Would you like an accessory commercial unit in East Hill where someone can have an office, something like the same way they have a garage? Not saying we're going to propose that. Those are the types of conversations we're going to have. If you did, is it only 9 to 5? So it can't be something that's open after 5 o'clock. So, I mean, that's just one snippet of a snippet of the types of conversations that might come up, about land development code. So yeah, I expect it to be a fight, and it just depends on what lens you're looking at it through. And but we're willing to do it. I think we've shown that we're willing to try to do difficult things here that are easier to just not do at all, to not make anybody upset. But this is about the city, and it's about all of us. And so we're going to continue to move forward with things that I think enhance the livability and quality of life for all of us. Yeah.
I'll take another bite.
Go ahead.
Almost all our neighboring cities
Mm-hmm.
of similar size are having discussions about aquatic centers to capitalize on the growth of competitive and recreational swimming.
Mm-hmm.
I think Destin may be further along, but Fort Walton is coming right behind them in Orange Beach. Do you think that the city provides enough water recreation, swimming recreation opportunities? This city.
Yeah, I mean, I would say when we've looked at metrics before, our 2 pools for 39 square miles and rough numbers, we aren't at a position where we're at 100% capacity every day in terms of usage. And I know we're talking about recreational as well, not just competitive, that you might be referring to as well. I would never say that we wouldn't, consider a third or I know before I got here, there was a lot of conversation with the YMCA about some kind of partnership, obviously happening at Vickery, and we were trying to kind of rekindle those discussions. I'd be open to it, but that's why you guys know me. I want to go off of facts. I don't build an old gym where one was just because one used to be there. That's not fact. What fact is let's look at how many people live here. Let's look at how many people utilize this pool, this community center. And that's what we're in the process of doing. We're going to get first our deferred maintenance study, and then ultimately a parks master plan that's going to help us, for the first time ever, actually have an objective plan moving forward, saying you've got too many of these, not enough of those. And if it says we need 10 community centers, then me and the next 8 mayors can start working on 10 community centers. And I'm happy to do that. If it calls for another pool and the data suggests it, we'll happily look into that. Because I want to do what's right, and I want to do what is good for our city. But we got to get out of the habit of doing things on a hunch, and because that's how it was. What did they say? The biggest enemy of progress is nostalgia. And so, just because something was doesn't mean it is in 2024. So I think it's our job, my job, to ultimately analyze that, look at those opportunities, and if there's a need, then it's our job to go meet it. So I'm really looking forward to these next 12, 18 months within Parks and Rec to get these objective studies done for the first time and really understand where our feet are as it comes to that department in the city.
Well, Mayor, major aquatic centers, I'm talking,
Mm-hmm.
of the kind that would accommodate visitors from out of town,
Right.
competition,
Yeah.
swimming for the community. This would fall under placemaking. And a lot of placemaking is built on intuition instead of data. I mean, American Magic is a placemaking
Yeah.
project, right?
Yeah. Yeah, well,
So,
I mean, you could replace, in your example, you could replace an aquatic center with a baseball complex, that like you see in Panama City with these huge, so yeah, I get what you're saying, but I think the sport is interchangeable. It's ultimately, do you want to invest millions and millions of dollars and compete in the world of getting these regional and national tournaments, be it swimming, be it cheerleading, be it whatever the case may be. So still, I think it requires a calculated approach. And ultimately, when you start talking about facilities of that size, I think those are bed tax and TDC conversations. You have to understand this. The city is, and we're always willing. We just collaborated on the Sun Belt Conference. We're willing to, put some resources up, police like we have done for many years, the basketball tournament, things like that. So in no way do I say we're not participatory, but you have to understand the first direct beneficiary of a swimming event happening here for a week is going to be heads and beds and bed tax. I mean, that's where that money is going to come from. So, would I support something in the city or outside the city that we think is good? I think it would be kind of a city and county conversation and TDC conversation about facilities and where we think we want to go, because we're on the backside of the return on investment. It's great for our restaurants, it's great for our bars, it's great to have people staying down here, not discounting that at all, but from a financial, hey, is it worth having this baseball tournament or this swimming event here? The first thing you're going to go calculate is heads and beds, bed tax. What's the return on investment? Well, we don't have much of a say in that and how those dollars are used. We've got 2 council members that are on TDC, which I think is kind of left from the old way of government. There's no administrative authority on TDC right now that knows what's going on here day to day. And so, I think that anything when you're talking about 10, 15, 20, $30 million, I mean, I think that's going to have to be a community conversation. I don't know that that's going to be something we take on. And it's why I'm thrilled, frankly, with the pickleball situation of now having a 45,000 square foot floor space, twice the size of the Bay Center, and at no cost to the taxpayer. I think it's a pretty good deal. And I think there's a lot of communities that are probably going and bonding 15, 20, $30 million to go build one of these, asking the citizens to pay for it, and hope, and then they have a private operator, and then they go run it, right? I'm thankful to be put in a position with this project where we can have a real amenity or asset to the city that doesn't cost the taxpayer anything. So, so we look for those opportunities and try to seize those as well.
any update on pickleball?
Not since we talked last. I know that they are underway with the outdoor courts, and I believe there's going to be 8 in total. I could have that off by 1 or 2, but I think it's 8 in total. And so I know they're full steam ahead on the outside. No set timeline on the inside yet. Anything else? All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good week.